And I'm Moshe, and I'm coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. And today's the 13th of March. Let's see what the time is. It's 8:48 in the morning, and our weather is changing. And shockingly, the higher temperatures at the peak of the day are actually warming the house up, and it's nice. It's just the beginning, but it's doing something. So I don't know if the weather's going to work today. Let's see. It's giving me stupid difficulties. It's just a junky app. I don't know what this thing wants. It's just stupid. It's broken or something. I don't know. The app just broke itself. It's got my location, and it just keeps going in a loop. No, it won't work. It's been a piece of junk all along. Anyway, I'll figure it out with another weather channel. No time for it today. Lots of news, lots of stuff happened last night. We had 60 people injured in one attack. There were loads of attacks last night. I kept waking up with sirens in the area. It was a bad night. We're fine. The animals are fine. Everything's fine. But we kept getting woken up. At one point, they had these cluster warheads in the missiles. So the siren went off for about 3 minutes. It woke me up 3 minutes, And I'm sitting there waiting just to hear the explosions of the Iron Dome, and nothing. So I said, okay, that happens. It means that the missile didn't pass through here. They thought it might, and it didn't. So then it goes to several towns away. I don't know. It must have been 15, 20 miles away, 25 miles. I don't know. And then I hear it goes like popcorn, like Orville Redenbacher, in the microwave, There was a ton of these things. There was multiple cluster warhead missiles that they took out. I mean, it was popping in the sky like crazy, Oh. So I get back to sleep, and then it happens again. I don't know if it may have even happened a third time. I don't remember. Welcome to the war with the lunatic Iranians, So that was, not a great night. 60 people got injured in one attack. However, only about 3 of them had significant injuries. The others were superficial. Apparently, the clusters broke a lot of glass, and people got hit by shards of glass. So it wasn't that bad. But we'll talk about it. And the crazy Iranians, in the last day, or approximately the last day, they hit bases belonging to Canada, France, Turkey, and the UK. They're nuts. I mean, they're trying to drag the NATO and Europe into the war. Why are they trying to do that? Get NATO and Europe? Because I believe they consider these countries weak in stamina and stature, and they won't fight, and they don't want to fight. And by dragging them in, they're hoping they can create a peace deal with them and have those people scream and yell at Trump to end it. And if Trump doesn't end it, they're going to say that they'll tell the Iranians they're having nothing to do with the war. They'll remove themselves from the Middle East, close their bases and stuff like that. Will they really do it? Nah, I don't think so. I think Iran's going to get whacked. We'll get into the details. There's not a whole lot of updating on the drones. It's still what it is, you know. Not a lot of updating on that one. We'll get into everything. There's a lot of news. What's going on with the Middle East? I mean, it's really big, and we'll get into it. And I'll tie it to prophecy as best I can. And we're going to get into spiritual warfare some, of course, and we'll see where we go from there. All right, I need to go check the live stream and make sure we got one, which it looks like we do. I think Beulah has something to say to the world. Okay, we got sound and picture. Okay, we got sound and picture. Thank you, moderators. Yeah, we're fine. But, you know, it's no fun waking up every couple hours during the night, believe me, from sirens. Oh, sorry about that. I was doing stuff this morning. And I woke up not very late, so I got up at 5:30. Usually try to get up at 5, but because I was waking up so much from sirens, you know, it's not peaceful to your sleep when you hear sirens. I don't go to the bomb shelters, but it's not a peaceful night sleeping. Not that you're going to get anxiety. You know, it'd be the same thing if somebody next door was taking a big ladle spoon and banging it on a 5-liter pot, you know, going bang, 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 you know, it would wreck your sleep too. All right, let me see here. I got to put a post up, which is usually going to take seconds. And I just check for typos. And all good. Let me post this up. And you can watch the people now leaving the live stream because I'm going to do some praise to the Lord. And you can join in if you want. Oh, wait, let me shut this sound off for some reason. Didn't get shut. There it is. Okay, there is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay, so let's jump in. First, we got some prayers, and they're very important, especially for the people requesting the prayers. Now, if you want to send a prayer request in, the best is to post it in the chat or send it to me by email. My email is on the lowest line down in the description box under the video. It's Israel Giving, one word, Israel Giving with the number 7 at the end. So it's Israel Giving with the digit 7 at gmail.com. And send me the prayer request. And it's best to send me the initials of the person you want prayer for. It makes it more private. Okay? Could also work with a first name only too if you want. All right. So the first prayer is for NB. It's for Normandy Bravo, NB, Normandy Bravo. The prayer request is for healing and financial improvement. So y'all that are believers can pray for NB for healing and financial improvement. Okay? That's the first one. The next one, okay, let me see. I'll pray for this. This is my Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I pray for RG, Romeo Girl, RG, Romeo Girl, for recovery from surgery and healing. In general healing, and a rapid recovery from surgery for RG. And I submit this prayer to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you guys can agree with this. Okay? Okay, next we got, and I almost missed this one because it wound up not in the right place. The best place to put it in the chat or email. Okay, this prayer request is for DW. I'll pray, and you believers can agree with me, even if it's a video. Agree, but always in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Do everything in His name. He says that Himself. He also says, "Without me, you can do nothing." Okay, so that's why the demon people can't do much of anything. Okay, this is for DW, Delta Whiskey, DW, Delta Whiskey. Kidney stone problem. I request my Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, to heal this kidney and kidney stone problem of difficulty. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Okay. That is it for the prayers requests. Now let's put some spiritual warfare out on some of these countries and just make sure Satan and his little entourage there of demons are not managing or running things, okay? So this is a binding and a loosing type of thing, okay? The keys to the kingdom, right? All right. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I bind all unclean spirits from influencing, controlling, directing, guiding, leading, assisting any person in any organization that works for or runs any organization or country that would include Israel, the USA, Iran, Lebanon, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Yemen, and the IRGC and Iran. All you unclean spirits cannot control or influence these people using other people and influencing them, or directly, or witchcraft or sorcery or anything. You have no ability to communicate with them, control them, guide them, lead them, direct them, help them, assist them. You can't lie to them. You can't deceive them. You can't appear to them. You can't do anything with them, before them, including going into any of the buildings owned, operated, controlled, or leased or rented by any of these entities, as well as any building or boat or plane leased, rented, controlled, or owned, or used by these entities for a period of 2 years continuously, beginning now. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you can agree with me if you're a believer. And that will keep the unclean spirits out of this, and the confusion will keep overflowing, which it is doing now. Trump went in the war, but it's coming from multiple sources that he's been trying to use negotiators to end the war practically every day. And he's just, struck, like hit by a sledgehammer, that they won't quit. When Trump says we're running out of targets to hit, believe me, the guy's not kidding. I think the number of targets that they hit now is up to about 7,000. I know it's over 5,000. And then Israel hit a bunch, probably at least 4,000 or 5,000. So, I mean, how many targets can there be? I mean, they're down to hitting, where the squirrels hide in the tree. I mean, what are they, now I don't think we all really know where they're hiding in the wilderness of Iran. That's one problem. But it'll get resolved. How and why will it get resolved? Because there's a lot of radio traffic or internet traffic or broadcast or walkie-talkie or any kind of traffic of some sort that'll be picked up by America coming in and out of these locations where the lead psychotics will hold up. So then they get blown up. Okay, here we go. Now, I'm going to start telling you that the U.S. is lying, okay, in some cases now, because historically I've researched things like this, and they do lie, okay? They definitely lie. The carrier USS Gerald Ford suffered fire, and 2 sailors were injured. Now, if you're going to believe that it just happened to have a fire breakout and nobody hit it with missiles or drones, I have a deal for you. I can sell you the New York-London bridge that connects Manhattan to London, and it only costs you $100 million. There is no such bridge. This ship was attacked and hit. Aircraft carriers several times were hit around Yemen. Where was the Gerald Ford aircraft carrier? Docked up in Saudi Arabia, which is next door to Yemen. And I told you on the broadcast that this was a mistake, and now it's proven to be a mistake. Aircraft carriers don't just break into flames. Come on. You think they're that idiotic? They're not. They know what they're doing with those aircraft carriers. They don't start fire. What do you think? They got guys smoking pipes and cigars near the aviation fuel up on the deck? No, come on. the ship got hit. Likely suspect, the Houthis. And if the Houthis are sitting there, well, if America doesn't want to tell the truth, they might tell the truth or they may not care. They did it. They know they did it. And it's enough. 2 foreign fuel tankers in the Gulf were two, I believe, American fuel tankers were hit in the Gulf on Thursday. They're saying foreign because it's coming out of Iraq, I believe. One person was killed and another 38 people were. No, wait a minute. I'm reading about a different incident. This is a ship. Sorry, I didn't get there. There was an American aircraft that went down. That was a tanker plane, but this isn't it. 2 fuel tankers, foreign, in the Gulf. Okay, so they were owned by other countries. These were ships. Sorry, it sounded the same thing. On Thursday, that's yesterday. It's Friday morning here in Israel now. 1 person was killed and another 38 people were rescued. That's definitely not an aircraft. After the incident near the Iraqi port of Qasar, however you pronounce it, which Reuters and CNN reported appeared to be caused by Iranian boats rigged with explosives. Could be drone boats. Ship tracking websites show the 2 tankers suspected of being attacked, surrounded by rescue boats. Oil ports have stopped operations following the attacks. Following this attack, Iraqi authorities added the explosions, plural, came after maritime authorities and 3 cargo vessels were hit by unknown projectiles in the Strait of Hormuz, that vital corridor for global oil. So this is a different episode. There's quite a few episodes right now, and Iran doesn't really seem to be letting up, which is troubling. Okay. There's more calls or requests for Straits of Hormuz ship escorts as Iran escalates. Some people are saying, to date, America has not escorted a single vessel, and I don't think they're about to, or they're going to get hit, and they're not going to want to get hit. And I just think they're not going to do it. Why would they or should they? Okay. A container ship with the name Source Blessing, Liberia flagged, that's in Africa, was struck by projectile fragments near Jebel, all in the region of the Gulf Arabian Sea. The strike happened around 2:20 a.m. local time. That would be 24 hours or so ago. I mean, according to maritime security reports, the crew is reported safe, and the ship also. Iran's really cranking it up. They are doing the opposite of what the Americans thought they were going to do, but that can prove to be nothing more than just a creative tactic. A Chinese oil tanker crossed the Straits of Hormuz, and that means Iran is selling oil and Trump is looking the other way. He doesn't want to really start getting into it with China. I think he realizes his plate is full right now, and it's easier for him to just look the other way than to go start getting into a big battle that could go hot with China. The Michigan police confirm active shooter at Detroit area synagogue. There was also something in a Netherlands synagogue too. Something happened. The Muhammad worshippers will be doing stuff like this because the religious leader of Iran asked them to. Okay. This is just another example I'm going to give you right now of the stupid guts that Iran has. There's guts is one thing, stupid is another. An Iranian vessel sailed too close to the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier, and the U.S. fired at the vessel, according to two U.S. officials. Briefed on the matter and spoke to CBS News under condition because they were authorized. They were not authorized to speak publicly about it, but they did let it get out. So they went after the Ford carrier. It had fires, and they started to go after the Abraham Lincoln, but they got stopped. How about that? See? The Pentagon and the National Security Council have significantly underestimated Iran's willingness to close the Straits of Hormuz. I told you and told you and told you they were going to do that, right? And they did. In response to U.S. military strikes while planning the ongoing operation, according to multiple sources familiar with the matter. So, yeah, it's just getting really crazy out there, kids. Netanyahu and the military in Israel are going to town on Lebanon like you won't believe, but it's going to take weeks. Like 2, 1.5. It's not going to be a big deal, but you're not going to get it done in 3 or 4 days. And they're going to go all the way up to Beirut. I think they're going to stop at Beirut. Now, they may or may not find the missiles. The stuff up in Lebanon is hidden in tunnels in the ground, like in Gaza. I don't know if they're going to get them easily or not so easily. We'll have to find out, you know. Does Netanyahu want to get him? Oh, gosh, he does. He's not playing some sort of rinky-dink game here or anything like that. I got to check this message. Hang on a second. Okay. Trump is now really scared because he's got almost trouble with the Abraham Lincoln. And he had trouble with the Gerald Ford. He does not want to be the first president to lose an aircraft carrier. Since, World War II? We lost plenty in World War II. Trump just doesn't understand it. It's like he's sitting there with brass knuckles on, punching Iran in the face and in the head. And they keep sitting there going, smiling at him. Oh, that don't hurt. That don't hurt, And he's coming to the reality he's got to cut the head off, which means completely kill the infrastructure of Iran. And the people won't be able to live there. And that's the prophecy that I see. Jeremiah 49, Elam, verse 34 down. I don't see any other options for him. It doesn't appear to me that the so-called protesters, the people of Iran, the rednecks of Iran, the righteous, or whatever you want to call them, they're not the righteous, the ones that want to live off of Sharia law, they don't want anything to do with Sharia law. They don't have it. They're not going to go for it. They're protesters. They're not guerrilla fighters. They would be doing it already. They're not. You'd probably need 250,000 of them rising up with guns, killing the soldiers. That's what it would take. They're not. And that makes me think they're not going to. Plus, combining that with prophecy, no. It's just going to go down. They'll hit more and more military bases, police, and security installations, and then what? Well, I don't know what they'll hit next, but they're going to try to find things to make it painful for the IRGC. See, the IRGC is running Iran. They gave us a release on the kid of the dead Khomeini. And they had a nurse talk. They showed you a picture of him and they said that he's in a hospital. Well, they didn't say that he's on life support breathing, which means he's in an induced coma, or he has himself in a real coma that he did to himself. They said one leg has been removed, and he's still messed up. So the military played a game on the people and said, oh, we'll appoint this guy. He can't talk. He can't move. The people will feel good. They got their Khomeini and will run the country. Look at the mess. They're going to have to hit real hard other targets, and I don't know what other targets they're going to go for. Look, it's Israel and America. They're not going to hit schools, and private houses so quick. But we do that in Gaza and Lebanon, so it might happen. The way it'll happen is with evacuations. There'll be lots of notices dropped that you got 2 hours to leave, this district or this neighborhood. We're going to hit targets there. Hundreds of thousands of them are being displaced, but it's still going on, isn't it? And they're trying their hardest to expand it. So obviously they think that by expanding it, they're going to get out of it. If they thought by expanding it, it was going to make things worse, why would they do it? The European nations are weaker, they figure, and they'll get more scared and negotiate out of it, which means leave Iran in power, leave them in power, and no sanctions. They want sanction relief. So they definitely made an underestimation of how mentally ill these people are and to what extent they will go, and how impervious they are to getting bombed. So yesterday, the Iranians threatened to set the region's oil and gas, that would be LNG, liquid natural gas, on fire if energy infrastructure is attacked in Iran. So they're keeping it up. In the first press conference of a current war, a prime minister says Israel is weaving, weaving. Yeah, weaving. I don't know why they use that word. Israel weaving new regional alliances. That's not the correct use of the word. Forming or making is regional alliances that previously seemed imaginary. So that's our Muhammad worshipping friends in the Middle East. IDF launches rare strikes on Hezbollah targets in central Beirut outside the group's stronghold. 6 Iranian missile salvos targeted Israel on Thursday. The tanker plane, there was 2 tanker planes in Iraq yesterday. One crashed, one didn't. They were in a friendly area of Iraq, and the first press, well, the releases were coming out that it was an accident. It was no accident, okay? You can fire missiles from an unfriendly area of Iraq or anywhere else, like Iran, into Iraq and take down a plane, okay? So the plane was taken down. The plane crashed. It means it went down suddenly. The pilot can usually, if something goes wrong, what usually happens is you don't have an explosion, your engines stop or they catch on fire or something, and you go down and gradually land. Or you have an emergency landing, but this is pretty serious. Pretty serious. So is that going to make Trump madder? No. What's he going to? Oh, yeah, it will. But what's he going to do? France got an aircraft carrier here now in Cyprus. UK is either it's there or it'll be there probably by Sunday. And the George Bush aircraft carrier is chugging to the Middle East. That's another 3 aircraft carriers, probably about 150, 160 planes combined. The plane was a KC-135 Stratotanker. It went down in western Iraq. There were 2 tanker aircraft involved. And then what does involved mean? I don't know. They weren't transferring gas from one to the other. I doubt that was the case. One aircraft crashed while the second one managed to land safely. Rescue operations for the crew are underway now. Let's talk about another explanation for this, okay, that's also out there. The incident occurred in friendly airspace. It was not caused by, this was the first release, not caused by hostile fire or friendly fire, which I don't believe. Yet the spokesperson for now this is your counter, for the Qatam al Anbiya Central Headquarters, a U.S. aerial refueler aircraft was hit by anti-aircraft defense systems in western Iraq and crashed, killing all the members of his crew, which was probably, I'm guessing about 6 people. Social media accounts inside Iraq are claiming the plane was struck by a P-358 surface-to-air missile fired by the Iraqi resistance. This is America covers this stuff up. I've seen it in the recent years with the Houthis and everything. Cover it up. I'm telling you, they cover it up. So they're not the only, Iran's not the only ones sitting out there lying through their teeth about stuff. This was a tragedy, but the Pentagon briefed Trump rather thoroughly that when you go to war, Donald, you got casualties. That just goes with the territory. So I don't think this is going to affect much of anything with Trump, except have the effect of wanting Trump to pull out because he's going to be getting real scared of B-1s and B-2s going down, F-22s, aircraft carriers. He's getting scared now. I'm sure of it. The Hezbollah in Lebanon are now fearing an invasion by Syria of Lebanon as the al-Shabaab reinforces the border. So I would imagine that Netanyahu and Trump are behind this, and they're going to support Giuliani with weapons if he goes into Lebanon to whack, to kill the Hezbollah. Now, Hezbollah is not really set up to fight an open war. In other words, if 15,000 soldiers come in with tanks, armored personnel carriers, and stuff like that, they're not set up for that. They got missiles. They got rifles. They got pistols. They got anti-tank weapons. They got RPGs. They don't have much. They can take the tanks out, but not that easily. And if I'm right, which I'm pretty sure I am, the Syrians are going to get fantastic intel from America and Israel. And who's Hezbollah going to get intel from? Well, don't kid yourself. China and Russia, maybe. But if we can get another front opened, in other words, over here, let's call this Syria border with Lebanon, Lebanon here, Syria here, and they're going to have to collect at the border, the Hezbollah, to stop Syria from coming in. And now they're going to be building fortifications up at the border. Guess who's going to come in and give Giuliani a helping hand and bomb these Hezbollah fortifications to stop the invasion of their country? Israel. How easy is that for us to do? Well, on a 10 scale, 10 being the hardest and 1 being the easiest, it's a 1. Okay. We're not going to say, oh, we're helping Giuliani invade Lebanon is going to say, "Oh, we've got threatening Hezbollah troop collection, so we bombed it." That's all. So what's going to happen next? Hezbollah will try to stay there while we blow them up, and then they're going to say, this ain't the good idea. We better go back. And then they're going to retreat, and then Syria's going to move in and fight them. And every time they stick their nose up out of the ground to fight, they're going to get bombed. See, the way to get rid of Hezbollah is one way is blowing up the missiles and the houses. Yeah. The other way is blowing up Hezbollah. But you got to find them, and it's not so easy. They go underground. We got to do something to get rid of Hezbollah. I'm telling you, the pressure's on the government. But I'm not sitting here saying it's the government's fault. No. Maybe it's the government's fault because they didn't kill Hezbollah and take them out, 9 months ago or something like that. Yeah, we could discuss that till the cows come home. But I think that they're trying. I really do. Netanyahu will get clever like he did with the pagers. They'll come up with something creative. This is one crazy war, guys. Welcome to end times. So what they're saying in Syria, Damascus is saying, artillery shells are being fired from Lebanon, and they're hitting Syrian army positions near Sergaya, as Hezbollah-linked media warn about Syria's growing troop buildup could sign possible a sign of military action. So they're shooting artillery into Syria. Well, Syria's not, Giuliani's a murderer. He's not going to put up with that. He's going to go get his pound of flesh from Hezbollah. And then this is where we say we wish them both great success in their endeavors. I would give this a 95% chance that America and Israel are in on this. Maybe the Iranians started it, but they're definitely going to want to finish it. Not the Iranians, the Hezbollah. So a woman was moderately wounded by shrapnel and dozens more were lightly hurt as Iran missiles hit a northeastern town. Over 50 people, or perhaps 60 people, in Zarzir were injured by broken glass. And let's see, a Michigan synagogue, or a shul. A shul is just another word for a synagogue. A shul is Yiddish, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it's Yiddish. So Michigan's school, a shul, a synagogue was attacked. Um, the attacker was identified as a naturalized U.S. citizen from Lebanon. Oh, golly gee, do you think he might be Hezbollah, who reportedly lost relatives to Israeli strikes? Yeah, the fact that they're trying to kill us is irrelevant to these people. Well, we have the right to kill you. We're Muslims, you're Jews, and don't you have the audacity to come back and try to revenge us or stop us? That's smart thinking for a goldfish. This will give you an idea of the scope of the problems with Saudi Arabia and the largest oil refinery in the world, Aramco. Saudi Arabia said they intercepted 50 drones from Iran in several hours yesterday. Well, how do we know they maybe intercepted 50 and 3 got in? I don't know. We don't know. Iran lies like a rug. You lie the rug down, right? Okay. On the floor. All right. The shrapnel that the woman got hurt could have been pieces of our Iron Dome interceptors hitting something, or pieces of a taken down missile hitting something with glass. I don't know. It'll come out. Iranian linked militias warned French interests in the region, the Middle East region, um, under targeting fire after arrival of aircraft carrier. So they told them they're going to get attacked after your aircraft carrier arrived, and it did arrive, and they got attacked. I'm going to cover the attacks momentarily. A pro-Iranian group in Iraq warns that French interests in Iraq and the region are, so it thickens now, it goes into Iraq, will be targeted after the arrival of the French aircraft carrier. The IDF just started a wide-scale wave of strikes targeting the infrastructure of the Iranian terror regime across Tehran. So the infrastructure means the power, the water, the transportation, and probably gas stations and all the stuff that is needed for the people to function in a modern city. So what happened? Iranian kamikaze drones, that's also called the suicide drone, hit a French military base near Erbil Airport. We're talking in northern Iraq, wounding 6 French soldiers. Okay. So do we think France is going to go into the war? Well, Macron is the sissy supreme, but he might actually go into the war now. He's probably trying to tell Trump, well, we'll go in, but I want a piece of that oil, Trumpy. And Trump saying, no, it's my oil, Macron. Go get your own oil. Yeah. Look, Macron, where were you when I needed you 10 days ago? I don't need you now. You know, this is the dialogue you're probably getting. But since Macron is getting his bases shot at, he's not exactly going to sit there and put up with that, because then they'll just do it to him whenever he wants. And I don't know if Macron's got enough brains to understand that, but his advisors might. If France wants to fight, they could fight. Okay? They got jets, they got aircraft carriers, they got ships, they got subs, they got planes, they got bombs. Yeah, they could fight. Could they do a tap dance on Iran's head? Yeah. But, you know, when Iran's underground, it's difficult. Right now, this is a shocking figure considering what's going on. Anyway, 13% of Lebanon is under Israeli evacuation orders. That means if anybody's there, they're fair game to get blown up. In the middle of fighting with Hezbollah. The IDF called on all Lebanese residents south of the Zahrani River. That's the different river, not the Litani. Or maybe it is, maybe in Arabic it's the Litani. About 40 kilometers from the Lebanon. Yeah, that's it. It's the same. Wait, 40 is 24. I don't know if it's the same river. Removed north due to Hezbollah activity in the area. According to Lebanon, more than 820,000 people have already been registered as displaced, and 687 have been killed since the start of the war. Well, People don't like that because we're a bunch of stinking Jews and we should just shut up and get attacked and that's it. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. You could complain to whoever you want to complain to, be my guest. Let's see what this Rani River is. If it is the Litani, I'll get it looked up. Get an answer quickly on this. No, it's a different river. The 40 kilometers is approximately 24 miles. The Litani is 16 or 17 miles, depending where you want to measure it. There are actually two different rivers. The Litani River is the longest river in Lebanon. It's about 102 miles. Let's see, 60 and 640, about 102 miles. Okay, so that'll give us about a 25-mile buffer zone, which isn't enough. It really helps. In the old days, going back to 2006, like 20 years ago, right? All they had over there in Lebanon was Katyushas, which had a maximum range of 18 miles. So a 25-mile buffer zone did the job, but they can go probably 180 miles now. See the problem? It's a problem. So I don't know why they think that's going to be so effective. I'm rather certain it won't be effective, and I told you why. Now, so we heard about France. Now we had Turkish air defenses intercept the ballistic missile launched towards the strategic Incirlik air base. That's a NATO air base inside Turkey. But I believe he uses the base also because he's in NATO. Turkish air defenses intercepted this missile. So now Turkey's up in arms. This is the third strike by Iran into Turkish territory. Turkey is in NATO. France is in NATO. I'm going to keep going. There is a developing strong chance of somebody pulling an Article 5 against Iran, but I think an Article 5 requires that Iran would have to strike the homeland, but Turkey did get struck in the homeland, not France. So they could also push it. If one country pulls the Article 5, they're all in. It's the Three Musketeers slogan, all for one and one for all, with NATO. Here we go again, another NATO country. British troops have just been attacked by Iranian suicide drones. A swarm of drones hit an air base used by Western forces at Erbil in Iraq, with multiple U.S. troops reportedly injured. So this is affecting Britain and America. I mean, this is getting really Article 5 NATO. And Trump would love to get Article 5 NATO at this point, because he's going to feel, well, with the extra aircraft carriers, we got another 150 planes. With NATO in, we'll get another 200, or another 150. And, we'll just keep flying overhead all the time, bombing, and every time they try to launch a missile or do troop movements, blow them up. Guys, things are getting worse. And you got to understand, the reason the Iranians are attacking other countries is because they think it will work in their favor, okay? They're not sitting there thinking that it's, detrimental to them. They're not trying to destroy themselves. They're trying to do something, and they think they're oh so smart. Drones have been spotted in the general area of Mansfield, Louisiana. Now, where is Louisiana? Well, let me give you a little help. It's to the left of Florida and to the right of California. You getting the idea? On the Gulf of America, or formerly the Gulf of Mexico. Now, I don't think Mexico changed the name. All right, so what's going on now? They're not American drones. They were thought to be doing surveillance of oil fields. Oh, I'll keep reading it to you. Now, they might blow. Louisiana apparently has oil fields they can blow up. Those are the oil fields are oil wells, where you see this big girdle-looking thing that goes with cables that goes up and down like that. That's how they get the oil out, right? And, you're talking black gold, Texas tea, So they're saying surveillance oil fields and other infrastructure targets. Barksdale Air Force Base, 40 miles north, was locked down a couple of days ago amidst fears of drone attacks. The FBI has warned Louisiana law enforcement to be on the lookout for Middle Eastern males. Oh, the paranoia is coming now. driving, there is saying driving U-Haul and similar trailers carrying drones. It's Islam, it's Muslims. It is the time to dismantle the Islamic movement in the United States now. Terrorism, yeah, it's growing. I mean, they're attacking synagogues and other things. It's, at universities, mass shooting, in the last few days, last two days or so. Yeah, the fear is sinking in. They're going to persecute the Muslims, or they're going to say they do, and that just saying they're going to persecute the Muslims will bring on the daughter of Babylon destruction. But actually doing it will accelerate it at a greater speed, I'm sure. They're 25 years too late. I mean, they never should have let this go on. China and Japan never let this grow. They make it illegal to observe Ramadan. They watch them. They don't let this grow. Canada military installation in Kuwait hit by Iranian missiles. I'm sure Canada's in NATO, isn't it? Let's check. I would be rather shocked if they were not. Is Canada a member of NATO? Yes, okay, I was pretty sure it was. All right, so you see how Iran's cranking off everybody? Maybe they want NATO and Europe to come in so they can start attacking them wherever they can, and then bring them to their knees, and that way they'll get the settlement they want, where they're in control and the sanctions are lifted, because they're not persuading Donald Trump to dance to their music. Okay? That's the only thing I make out of this. I don't know why else they're trying to bring new enemies on their heads. Maybe they think they're going to get the whole Muslim world to rise up. I doubt it. What they're doing is they're getting a lot of Muslims to rise up and slaughter them. And the result, the countries they've been bombing in the Middle East. And this is likely the Lord getting more nations to attack Iran. So we see the fulfillment of the prophecy in Jeremiah 49, starting in verse 34, that the destruction is so bad that all the people have to leave Iran, and they scatter into every single nation of the world, and then the sword follows them and they get cut off. So that's what I'm looking at. Now, since the sword follows them and they get cut off, who the heck is these people in Gog and Magog, Ezekiel 38 and 39, that is called Persia, that attacks Israel? Well, that could be the Persians that left Iran before 1979, when you could get out, and they live all over the world, and it could be them regrouping and their descendants. Makes sense? Okay. Oil prices are back up. I'll give you the figures. It's an hour or two old. WTI, which is American oil, let's say, that's not we could say that. $95.50 a barrel. The Brent, which is, we could say, Europe oil, $100.50 a barrel. Guys, that's rather up there already. Now, the people can tolerate probably up to about 120 a barrel, which is roughly double. From there, it's going to be a rough one. And 200 is going to be very difficult. Now, the Americans and other countries selling reserves to keep the prices low are going to get away with it for a while, and that's it. And it's a brief while. The price of gas in the United States. See, I thought of that. The general average price in America as of yesterday probably is $3.60 a gallon. Now, with the price levels up this high, it'll take 1 or 2 days, maybe 3 days, for them to raise the prices at the pump, but it will come. And in California, the price of gas on average, as of yesterday, I believe, is $5.37 a gallon. So it's cooking up, guys. I'm going to check gold and silver in a second, but when I checked it earlier today, it was a little down. Nothing serious, a few bucks, nothing. It didn't take off yet, but when the price at the pump gets, nuts, then the gold and the silver is going to get nuts. It's probably nearly impossible for the one to get more, to elevate excessively and the other doesn't. Um, let's go to Kitco, KITCO. They got all the precious metal prices for trading. They're easy to read quickly. You don't have to go through 6 pages to get the results. It's just right there. Here we go. So your gold is down to $5,072.20. So it's being suppressed. There's no good reason on the fundamentals for it to be dropping, okay, with the wars like this. And the silver's gone down a tiny bit from 83.80, well, up from 88, but it's $81.78. So it's not that bad. And the platinum's $2,064. I don't know why the jewelry makers don't start making more platinum. The problem is that platinum is very hard to work with. It's a hard metal, and yeah, it's hard on the tooling and stuff, so they don't want it. But you'd be better off with a platinum bracelet or necklace or watch band in terms of it stretching out, because gold is a very malleable, bendable, movable metal. The more gold in your gold, the more malleable it gets. So if you were using 14 karat gold, it would be a lot stronger than the 18 karat. Okay, so I don't know if they're going to do this. I have a feeling not, because of the wear and tear on the tooling. Let's see, I think there's some kind of prayer request here. Let me take a look. Oh, hold on. I think it was just a thank you. I'll take a look. Things are going to happen on a major level way before July or December or something like that. Yeah. Yeah, the medicines, they're going to be going up, I'm sure. I'm not dealing with that, though. It's only so much I can deal with, you know. We know all about barley. We've harvested barley in Israel, and we make unleavened bread. We made out of barley, which is how they made it back then. They used barley bread, and we eat barley. Barley's okay. It actually tastes kind of okay. Um, there's no nukes. Look it up. Go look up nuke hoax. And listen, the simple version is this: if they had nukes, these bums that are all Satan bots now, every country in the world is run by a Satan bot. They would have took their nukes and trained them on Israel and just erased Israel. That's that, and they didn't because they don't have nukes. All they would have to do is get one or two nukes in. Israel is a small place like Rhode Island or something. All they have to do is get one or two nukes in and be no more Israel. God doesn't. They don't. Man doesn't have that kind of power where they could wipe a country out in 5 minutes. They don't have that power. They never did. They never will. When you go back, you'll see when in the 50s they showed you nuke tests. They used trees and little toys from Lionel train sets, electric trains that people could use on their electric train setup to make it look like the train stops in a city or something like that. It was a joke. They rigged the photos back in the 50s when they did the tests, and people unwrapped the photos. Oh, they did a long time ago. They did it 10, 15 years ago. And they said, oh, wow, these are toy trains. And then you got them also telling you they went to the moon and the flag is waving on the moon. And they tell you the moon's a vacuum. But the Bible tells us that space is not a vacuum, it's full of water. So how are you going to travel through space? I mean, you'd need to have a spaceship that then turns into a submarine. And then how's the submarine going to get air when it runs out of air since it's all full of water? It's just that one lie after another after another. It says the angels on the four corners of the earth, right? In Revelation, how are you going to have four angels standing on a basketball shaped earth? You're not. If you had a basketball shaped earth, as you were going north and you kept going north, you'd be south. The same with east and west and west and east. It doesn't make any sense. There's many, many places in the Bible that points out the earth is flat. It also says in the Bible the earth is immovable. It's not a ball spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. Get in a car at 60 miles an hour on the freeway, and if it's a convertible, throw a ball up in the air at 60 miles an hour and see if the ball comes down and lands in your car, because the theory would be, well, you're moving forward at 60 miles per hour, so is the ball. So the ball will come back down in the car. Well, it does anything but that. So if you were spinning at 1,000 miles an hour and you went into the schoolyard and threw a ball up in the air, it would not come down where you're standing. How do I know this? As kids, we used to do this all the time. We used to try to throw balls to the rooftop of the apartment buildings, which was roughly about 60 feet. Every now and then, one of us would actually get a ball up on the apartment building, but most of the time we didn't get it that high. But we used to just throw it straight up in the air to play with us, games with ourselves. And you have little squares of concrete, and the thing would land just about where you are. And it took a few seconds. It would be if you were going 1,000 miles an hour, it'd be a quarter mile away. It's just all lies. All lies. It's all lies. The nukes. No nukes. They would have used them. Doesn't that make sense? They would have used not just on Israel, on each other. They don't have them. You think Trump would be behaving the way he does now, and Israel if nukes were real, and Pakistan gives them a nuke or two or three, or China or Russia, and then they blow the United States off the map? You think Trump would do that? See what I'm telling you? They don't have that stuff. They're all liars. Satan's the god of this age, okay? And the age is about over. The next age is the age to come with everlasting life. And that's from the appearing of Yeshua in the clouds. And that you read about in Zechariah 12:10. And it explains it to you in John 6, verse 40. And it doesn't lend itself. But it sure looks like the nations are stacking up to get Iran. Something happens and they get America next. That God's using America to take out Iran, and then he's gonna get rid of America. You think Trump's not the hammer of the whole earth, not the great voice? Of course he is. Yeah. The nations don't come to meet in America. These are all scriptures in Jeremiah 50 and 51. Of course they meet in America in the UN building in New York. I don't know, what is it, 47th Street by the East River? 49th, 47th. I don't know. I've seen it, drove by it a million times. I had a neighbor who was a nice guy, didn't know any better. In the Bronx, he had a lot of money. He had a slum hotels, they call them, and he went to he used to go into the UN and sit in the audience seats when they were doing the General Assembly, and they'd be talking. And I've been there, and what it is you have headphones there. I don't know how clean they are, and you could set it to many different languages. So you could set it to English, and you would get the translation of what they're saying in English, I believe, even in the audience. And he used to go sit there and think he was watching the whole world being run from that. That's what they want you to think. But I think after World War II, for maybe 10 or 15 years, the UN had a lot more sway to it, much more legitimacy and stuff than it does now. It's impossible for the UN to function anymore because Trump got veto power, UK got veto power, China and Russia got veto power. So it never gets anything significantly done. It's there, but it don't do anything. Now they already got a condemnation out of the UN General Assembly. Can they get the UN out of the UN Security Council, not the General Assembly? It's just Security Council. The real thing: can they get the Security Council to raise arms against Iran? Nah, China and Russia will never agree with it. Well, NATO can. That's going to increase the pounding. Look, if you got NATO and you got Europe in it, assembling a moderate ground force is not going to be that big a deal. But I don't know what a moderate ground force is going to accomplish. Well, they're going to keep bombing the daylights out of it. And I don't believe you're going to get your victory just from bombings. After a lot of bombings, you could go in and overthrow the place, but I don't think it's just going to get destroyed. They're going to frustrate and just keep bombing and get the infrastructure. And then there's going to be water problems, food problems, electricity problems, and then people are going to be leaving. Look, they're leaving the UK, the UAE rather, the UAE. And that's a rich country. And Iran's got, a handful of the Satan bots there that run the government are rich, but nobody else. Foreign investors that are Satan bots could be another group of rich people, but they don't have an air force. They're even getting their civilian planes destroyed. They actually had refueling tankers. They got killed. They got destroyed. I think Iran had one or two. And 60 or 70 boats of theirs were destroyed, but they're using drone boats to sink ships and stuff. So the Persian Gulf is closed. Don't kid yourself. There's people that, well, I'm not going to get into that. So if you're talking to a Satan bot and you're not sure it's a Satan bot and you want to ask them a question about some scripture and you get back, why don't you ask God? What are you asking me for? Go ask God. Well, that's a high grade Satan bot, false believer, trying to cover up the fact that he doesn't know beans about the Bible, telling you to go to Jehovah for your answer. Don't respond to that. These people are nuts, They don't understand what they're doing. Okay, they don't. They don't. And the sad thing is that as long as they see the demonic leaders running the countries and the cities and the big corporations and the false churches, or I could say all the churches, and they Messianic congregations included, they just keep thinking everything's going to be okay. When you cut them off from their unclean spirits, like we do with our heavy duty, we call it the whole enchilada, then they crack up. They don't get any support from the unclean spirits anymore, and they go nuts. When you cut the leaders off of the countries like we do, then they're not communicating with the unclean spirits. They're trying to get a third or fourth party, and they don't know what to do. They bounce around, and they get scared. Trump's petrified. The Iranians are not scared. They're too stupid to be scared. Seriously. Stupid people don't get scared. You talk to people in military, special forces and stuff, and they'll tell you that being scared is normal. I know people that have gone into special forces and they finish their tour. They usually go, 3-4 years, whatever it is, and then they get out. They don't want to go back in. They're scared. They know that if you get spotted by the enemy in their country, you are not in your own country, you're in their country, and you get spotted by them, you've got seconds to get out of there. And then they get killed. If you're with a team with a half a dozen guys and you're walking around in enemy territory and 40 soldiers descend upon you with RPGs, technicals, which is pickup trucks with 50 caliber machine guns, pouring ammo down on you, and they might have mortars shooting at you, and then they got soldiers shooting AK-47s at you in full auto, throwing hand grenades at you, calling in for airstrikes against you. You're a goner. Green Beret, Delta Force, SEAL Team 6, Ranger, whatever you want to call yourself. You're a goner. You can't overcome tremendous odds. These guys get hit. A lot of times they just go down like a sack of potatoes. And a lot of times they'll keep fighting for a while because they're in such great physical condition, they can compensate. So does that work? Yeah, if you're in a 3-minute or a 5-minute fight and then you're going to have the victory and you got wounded even in the abdomen or something and you're still able to fight, is that a great advantage? Sure, it's a huge advantage. Regular soldiers usually are not that dedicated mentally to push themselves that hard, nor physically able to keep that going. So yeah, they do that. They're very difficult to fight with until you get overwhelming numbers. Then you're finished. You bang into a bunch of 6 or 8 of them, and they start realizing what's going on, and they survive. They're going to get on the radio, and you're going to have 100 come at you. Then what? It's a problem. It's a problem. I don't know if the rules of order are going to break down in America if you start getting drone attacks and a lot of terrorist attacks. But if it does start to break down, I'll get on and talk to you about how to protect yourself. The rules change, okay? Like, you might not be able to have a gun now, of course, of your jurisdiction or whatever, but maybe it's against the law for you to have a gun or something like that. But then when everything breaks down, there are no more prohibitive laws like that. So, but again, if you have a powerful flashlight, at least 4,000 lumens minimum, okay, minimum, something like that. 3,000 at night will work. 4,000, 13,000 lumen. I got one that's even better. I mean, you shine that in someone's eyes, and they go, "Oh man, they're going to be out of it for seconds, not for 15 seconds, maybe 10, maybe 15, not a minute or a half a minute. They'll be out of it for a while, and then if you have a knife and they can't see, guess what? Or if you have a stick, guess what? Or if you have nunchucka or a hammer, all right, guess what? Clunk, clunk. This is when everything breaks down and you're getting attacked by somebody. That's You don't need a gun, you know. If you got a gun and they're coming at your house and you got a really powerful flashlight, like 10,000 lumens or over, you can give them a dose of the flashlight or have somebody else do it in their eyes and then shoot at them. There is none of this playing fair when this stuff happens, okay? Pepper spray with a nice knife, a Bowie knife, something like a 10, 12-inch blade, pepper spray and a hole in their eyes. I'm talking if it all breaks down, okay? People are coming around to your house to loot it and kill you and rape you, okay? You know, you pepper spray them and then, you go right in it in the abdomen or the throat or something. You could use a big meat knife or a big knife in the kitchen, the blade like that. Learn how to get a sharpener and sharpen your knives if you're going to go for knives, you know. A gun is a better weapon, but up close, I'd much rather have a knife. Like if I was in the Bronx and I got in an elevator late at night and someone else got in the elevator that looked like they were going to rob me, I'd much rather go for the knife than the gun. I pull the gun out, the guy's going to start, trying to grab the gun and but I pull the knife out, I'm not going to have one knife. I'm going to have more than two, at least two. So one knife he's going to start fighting with, right? And this hand, the knife comes, he's going to hold it. Then the other hand comes out and goes right into his throat, and it's good night. You always want to fight with two knives. You never want to fight with one knife. All this stupid crap of how to take a knife away from somebody, yeah, it might work on somebody with one knife. Does it work with somebody with two knives? No. You go to karate school for 42 years and you take two knives out, and I'm talking real knives, 10, 12-inch Bowie knives that you could shave with. Did nothing they could do. I mean, I could train somebody in 45 minutes or, maybe it'd take a week to really train, but there's nothing they could really do. Trying to kick at the knife is stupid. You're probably going to miss. And you're putting yourself in a bad position because you've got to recover. And the guy can just loop around. You kick and go like that and slice all your tendons and stuff. When you fight somebody with a knife, I mean, if you're sporting them with pepper spray or bright flashlights, that's one thing. If you're not, you don't go in and try to just plunge it in his chest. What you do is you try to slice his hands and his arms and his feet. So you disable the guy. Then you go in. You don't just sit there. And this business on Hollywood of the knife duel, oh my gosh, you don't ever, ever do that. Ever in a million years. Never do that. And if you got two knives, there's a pretty good chance you never will have to. But if a guy's presenting a knife to you, you've got a risk. Okay? So you could try to go to another weapon like a cane or a club or something that gives you reach like a sword. It just depends what you got available. You could pick up a garbage pail in the street and fling it at him, but try to hit him. There's a lot of things you could do, but the military trained guys generally are taking a course that's about 2 hours a day for 6 months. And is it effective? Very effective. Is it as effective as martial arts school? Probably as good as going to martial arts school for 3 or 4 years, but it's going to happen in 6 months because it's a better system. It's not designed to make the owner of the school rich. But somebody that goes to martial arts, 3 days a week for an hour and a half, 2 hours for 10 to 20 years or something like that, they're going to have a much better skill set. And it depends on the martial art, but they become very effective. It takes, even somebody that goes 6 or 7 years can be very effective. Their reflexes get a certain way. When I was younger, not that much younger, I don't know, 15 years, 20 years ago, I used to work out with a speed bag, if you know what that is. That's where they go boom, 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 boom. And I used to use swords on this. I took swords and I took sharpening stones and dulled them. so they wouldn't cut anything, and then I put tape over them just to make sure. No, I actually didn't use the tape. It would fall off. I tried to, but I got them so you could run it across your hand and it wouldn't cut your hand. And I would take the sword and I would hit the speed bag with the sword and get it to go boom, 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 right, with a sword. Now, it really knocks your arm out. With the other hand, you can do it two ways, but that's a little hard. With knives, you can do two, like buoys or something like that. I used to do that also. Then I had what was called a top and bottom bag, where the bag is attached to the ceiling with an elastic cord and attached to the floor with an elastic cord. And you got basically a main bag like that, and you got a little one under it like that. And you can get the thing to swing a few feet, like 3 feet each way, 2.5, 3 feet. And you hit it with the sword and practice that thing flying around in all the different directions, hitting it with the edge of the sword. If you can do that, you can get into a sword fight with some jerk samurai and slice and dice the jackass, because they never had that skill set. They sit there, the samurai guys will sit there and they'll freeze and they'll try to see you do something wrong, and they try to split your head open in one blow. Again, you want to injure the arms, the feet, the legs, the hands, and then go in. It's always that way with an edged weapon. Always that way. Bow and arrows are good. They'll go through a car windshield. You need a 60, 70-pound pull on the bow, but you can drive it right into somebody, right through a windshield. Yeah, I've seen videos of it. It'll work. It doesn't go working well against guns at all. It is silent. The Lord will take care of you. But, I'm going to take a break for a minute. Are you here? Now, when we read prophecy like Zechariah 12 into 13, Malachi 3 and 4, we don't read anything about tanks, boats, planes. Well, we do read of ships of Tarshish, for evacuation out of daughter of Babylon. But we don't read about, cars, tanks, personnel carriers, mobile artillery aircraft. None of that. Can you imagine they run out of fuel? Look what's happening in the Middle East to the fuel. It's literally on fire. And non-functional. Now, Venezuela is still operating, Russia's still operating, but Zelensky in Ukraine has disabled a lot of the Russian refineries already. And he keeps trying to get more and more. So that's coming to an end. Okay. And I don't know exactly how it's going to entirely materialize, but I'm seeing it. They're using horses in Zechariah 12. Maybe it's just Middle East language. It's Bible language from the old days, thousands of years ago. And if the Lord wrote tanks and planes, people wouldn't know what they're talking about back then. So maybe I'm wrong, but on the other hand, it sure looks like the oil's getting destroyed, doesn't it? America's got oil, Canada's got oil, Mexico got oil, Venezuela got oil, other countries got oil. So we're not there yet, but could be. God says he's going to destroy all the nations he scattered the Israelites into in Jeremiah 30, verse 11, and Jeremiah 46, verse 28. And I don't believe the oil is going to survive that. So that's likely why we see Roman era weapons and stuff in Gog and Magog, Ezekiel 38, 39, which will be about 70 years down the road from the appearing of the Lord in the clouds, of Yeshua in the clouds. So it could be the oil is kaput. And we're going to go back to more of the way we were living thousands of years ago, an agricultural economy. We'll have great wealth, but we'll be living with our families, and your kids aren't going to get out and join the Hells Angels or the Mayans or some motorcycle gang, or, they're not going to have that happen. So we don't know yet, but I would prepare you for that. Okay, what about electricity? I don't know, probably not. I expect he'll change the climate in Israel when we get the new heavens and the new earth. After the appearing of Yeshua, you get the new heavens and new earth. The church doesn't know that because they don't teach the appearing of Yeshua in the clouds. They teach the appearing of Yeshua in the clouds and returning to earth is the same event. It's not. I'm not sure. I mean, I think about things. What are we going to do with all the cars just abandoned on the road because they run out of fuel or something? I don't know. The new heaven and new earth will take care of that. Are we going to survive the new heaven and the new earth? Oh, yes, we will. Have no fear. The Lord is definitely going to take care of you. Don't even give it a second thought. It's not for you to figure out how he's going to do it. That's for him to do. But whatever it's going to be, you're not going to have a problem with that. You'll be fine. And, is it going to be that, like, we're going to go, pull cherries off the tree and the cherries are this big and you have 8 cherry for lunch? I hope so. I don't know. I think your dogs and your cats are going to live a lot longer. I would think you would be getting dogs and cats up to about 100. But there's not that much time left, though. So I don't know. But do we read of cats and dogs in New Jerusalem pooping and peeing on the see-through gold streets? No. No. Does that mean they're not there? I think they're not there. I don't know. Does it say they're not there? No. Does it say they're there? No. I don't know. It doesn't stay. It doesn't state, but I doubt it. Maybe the cats and the dogs will just live 30, 40 years or something like that. But I think it'll be much longer than what you got now. So kids would be able to grow up with the dog and turn into adults with the dog, and it'd be nice. But you got to remember, the Lord's not really worried about us having relationships with animals that way. He's more concerned about us and relationships with people and him first off. So first is your relationship with God, and then is your relationship with each other, and then would come maybe animals, but it's not a priority with the Lord, though. He likes the animals, but they're not the same thing. Now, I know all of us, self-included, in these days bear very, very close ties with our dogs and cats because people are so screwed up. We get solace in having good relationships with our animal pets because, and some people are that way with horses and stuff and goats and whatever, but people are so bad today that we get comfort in having good relationships with the animals. But an animal is still an animal, it's a beast. When Mommy moved into the house, when we took her here, Beulah had been living here for quite a while, and she was just really friendly with Beulah and with the little dogs, my little Yaffa and Chief. She was really great with all of them. She didn't really get attached to the little dogs because she didn't know what to make of them. But she never, ever bothered them. She never barked at them or yelled at them or bullied them around or anything like that. Never. Never stole anything from them. No. But after 3 or 4 months or 5 months with Beulah, she's decided that she needed to die. In the first few months, they were the best friends. And Beulah liked it. Beulah's a nice dog. And then Mommy decided that she was going to dominate Beulah and had a bad fight with Beulah one day in the yard. And then a month or 2 later, another bad fight. And then one time she was trying to kill Beulah. She had her by the throat, and Beulah got so scared she thought she was going to die. We got her off her. But, that's a beast. And now we watch the two of them very carefully because, it doesn't take much. They could just look at each other the wrong way and it'll start a fight, Beulah doesn't stay hiding from Mommy. She just gets herself in a position where there's not going to be a fight with her. She doesn't want to have a fight with him. So, that's what a beast is, That's a beast. they can just snap like that, and what are you going to do? That's how they are. So we do that now because the animals really love us and we really love them, and they become good companions, and they are non-judgmental. Whatever you want to do is okay with them. I mean, as long as you're not hurting them, they don't mind whatever you do. They don't try to control you. You want to go to bed at a certain hour, go ahead. You want to stay up to a certain hour, go ahead. You want to eat whatever you want to eat. They're probably going to want a taste of it, but they're pretty non-judgmental, and they'll protect you and stay friends with you and everything else. We got them to stop getting excited when the red alerts blow. So now they sleep through it like we do, but it disturbs your sleep. Even if you don't get up, it messes your sleep. Like I got up this morning after all those sirens last night, and it wasn't right. My sleep wasn't good. No. I'll probably take some nosedive naps during the day today. But that's the deal, guys. So, uh, that's the deal. Anyway, so the oil might be going too. See, there's a lot of end time stuff happening that the whole church world's not aware of because nobody teaches it to them. And we need to be aware of these things and try to share it with people that'll listen. And most won't listen, or they'll listen and then call you crazy because the church doesn't teach it. But we need to be aware of all this stuff, okay? I still don't see how we're going to jump to the siege from uh, these wars. And I believe what the Lord showed me a while ago was that it was the appearing of Elijah and, the training of the Levites in the temple and all that stuff that brings it on, the siege. That could be the case. And then it tells us who can stand when he appears. Well, that doesn't mean that they die when he walks down the street and they get within 25 feet of Elijah and they just drop dead. That, of course, that's not it. And he's training the Levites so they can't stand up against them. But what the heck are there Levites running around wanting to do sacrifices for anyway? Well, probably because there's a temple. Could this be before the appearing of Yeshua? It could. It could. We'll know soon enough. God doesn't want us to be able to predict all these things with absolutes. And when we read Malachi 3, let me get this thing to function. Okay. When we read Malachi 3, what we get is a little interesting. All right, Malachi 3. Behold, I will send my messenger, my Malach, that's Elijah, and he shall prepare the way before me. So it doesn't talk about people getting killed yet. And Adonai, whom you seek, shall suddenly come to his temple. That's the glory of God of Israel. Michael, the angel that God put his name in, Jehovah. That's in the Old Testament in Exodus. Whom you, okay, and then it says, even the Malach, the messenger. Well, the angel Michael's not the messenger, so that's Elijah again. The messenger of the covenant, whom you delight in. Well, they celebrate, Passover. They leave a plate for him with a glass of wine. They have chairs with his name. They'll leave the door open if it's safe, stuff like that. He shall come, saith the Lord. But who may abide the day of his coming? Is the day of his coming the day? I don't know. It doesn't give you that impression here. It's just saying the day of his coming, the day he comes. Let's get a breakdown of those words. So let me do this again and break it down. Okay, so where am I? I'm in verse 2. But who may abide, that's like stand. The day, it just says yom. It doesn't say the day like the day. It says day of, and it says his coming. Bo. Bo means come. Okay. Well, you would say like boiler po, come to here. Like to a dog or your kid, maybe. I don't know. All right. So it's saying. So it's not exactly the way they're portraying it. They're trying to make it into workable English. It's saying day comes, okay? So who may abide, and that word is cool. To seize, contain, measure, support, endure, hold an endurance, or endure, or can abide, comprehend, contain. It doesn't have the connotations of dead, okay? So that's the word for stand. When he, abide, or, it's contain, endure, he has a strong anointing and it bothers the bad ones. When he appeareth, and that is not appear. It's not it. Let's see how Strong stores it into English. I went too fast. Let me get back. Strong, what does Strong say? Approve, appear, consider, discern, experience, gaze. Okay, so what it's really saying, let's get back in here. Shall stand when he appeareth. They're considering him, what's going on, his teachings and his anointing is, for he is like a refiner's fire and a fuller's soap. He's getting the dross out of them. It's not about him killing people, okay? Israelis. It's not about killing the 2/3. And he shall sit as a refiner of fire and purifier of silver, and shall purify the sons of Levi and purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto the Lord an offering in righteousness. So he's probably sitting there teaching and talking to them and doing signs and wonders and healing the sick and raising the dead and all this stuff. And they're, you know, getting freaked out, and, you know, they can't stand up against him, but he's not killing them. And I will come near to you to judgment, and I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers and the adulterers, and against the false swearers and those that oppress the hireling and his wages, in other words, rip off the workers, and the widow and the fatherless, and that turn aside the stranger from his fear, from his right, and fear not me. See, this is, I think, after he's teaching the Levites, who are teaching the people, and the people are learning the truth, not the Talmud, not the Tibetan Book of the Dead, not the Kabbalah, the truth, the real Bible, and they're still breaking it, then they're going to get cut off. And that turn aside from his right, and fear not me, saith Jehovah of hosts. For I am Jehovah, I change not. Remember that, he doesn't change, the Lord doesn't change. Therefore, you sons of Jacob are not consumed. Jacob's trouble, even from the days of Zechariah 12 is Jacob's trouble. Even from the days of your fathers, you are gone away from mine ordinances, and have not kept them. So this is what Elijah's teaching them, to pursue the ordinances and keep them. Not the Moses law. It changes over time. The law's changed, Unto you, saith Jehovah of hosts, but you said, where shall we return? And then he talks about offerings and stuff. Well, I guess, will a man rob God? You have robbed me, but you say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings. You are cursed with a curse. Hold on a second. It's got stuck. Okay. It's unstuck. You are cursed with a curse, for you have robbed me, even this whole nation. Bring you all the tithes into the storehouse. The reason he's saying it to all the nation is the people that were Israelites that wouldn't operate correctly and got into extreme anyway, they're not listening, okay? They know what to do and they're not doing it. So he's saying, bring you all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in my house. This could be that the Kohanim are not getting, and the Levites are not getting food to eat. The people are holding back. Holding back on tithes and offering is an old theme, we know. And prove me now herewith, saith Jehovah of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing. Prove me now, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you a window of heaven and pour you out a blessing. Window of heaven is bring the rain, and then the crops will respond. There'll be, abundant food. That there shall not be room enough to receive it. You understand? Now, the people that think they're believers are not believers, that they don't understand that. And they'll say, oh, God has all the wealth and riches, the cattle on 1,000 hills and the gold. Let him pay. I'm not going to pay. They want to do offerings out of their abundance. And if they don't have an abundance, they won't do it. And that's why they never have an abundance, but they don't get it. And I will rebuke the devourer for your sakes. That's the bugs that eat the crop. And he shall not destroy the fruits of your ground, neither shall your wine cast her fruit before the time in the field, saith Jehovah of hosts. And where did it go? Wait a minute. Oh, I jumped the chapter, this iPad nonsense. Okay. iPads are good for some things, they really are, but if you got poor vision like me, you can make things really big, and that's really why I put up with it, I think. And all nations shall call you blessed. So there's still nations, but I believe their land and stuff is destroyed. Oh, all heathen is what it's saying. In reality, goyim, heathen. Shall call you blessed. So the nations are probably not there. For you shall be a delightsome land, saith Jehovah of hosts. A delightsome land's not going to have this climate we have now. We're called a dry, parched place. Your words have been stout against me, saith Jehovah. Yet you say, what have we spoken so much against thee? You have said, it is vain to serve Elohim, and what profit is it that we have kept his ordinances and that we have walked mournfully before the Lord of hosts? And now we call the proud happy. Yea, they that work wickedness are set up. Yea, they that tempt God are. And now we call the proud happy. This is before redemption. And they that work wickedness are set. So this is making me think he comes before redemption. Obviously, he's preparing the way. The first way he's preparing is for Yeshua to appear in the clouds. Now, the apostles knew about this. This was what they called their great hope. And they didn't have, till the end, until John was writing the book of Revelation, they didn't know about New Jerusalem. They were calling this the great hope. So he's preparing the way for Yeshua to appear in the clouds. One way of getting that done is to teach the people that's what happens. How many people really know that today? Very few. And now we call the proud happy, yea, they that work wickedness are set up, yea, they that tempt God are even delivered. That's not going to happen after redemption, okay? Then they that feared the Lord, Jehovah, spake often one to another, that's us, and Jehovah hearkened and heard it, and a book of remembrance was written before him, them that feared Jehovah and that thought upon his name. Okay? And that's the book of life. That's going to get you into heaven for eternity. And they shall be mine, saith Jehovah of armies, in that day. Now, that day, that's the special day, when I make up my jewels, that I will spare. Stinking iPad. Okay. When I will spare them as a man spareth his own son. Well, you're becoming a son of God, so he's going to spare you. You see how that works? That serveth him. Then shall you return and discern between the righteous and the wicked. Then you shall return where? The earth? No, you're going to, maybe the dry bones, but you're going to return to the land that's yours, that you lost track of, that you didn't pay attention to, Israel. All the believers are part of Israel, all of them. Whatever your lineage is, you're part of Israel if you're a believer. I don't care what language, where you came from, color, culture, it doesn't matter. The righteous and the wicked, between him that serveth God. Okay, so what does it say? It's saying, a man spareth his own son that serveth him. Then shall you return and discern between the righteous and the wicked, between him that serveth God and him that serveth him not. There it is. Okay. So it looks like he's out there before redemption. Pretty strongly looks that way. So there you go. I mean, it's a pretty interesting scenario, all right. I'm going to give us a prayer. And my Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I pray for me and my wife and all the true believers and their families. I pray we all have your strength, stamina, and endurance, and we have your healing and recuperative power flowing through us, healing everything that needs to be healed all the time and not getting sick. And I pray for ourselves and our animals and pets to be safe and secure and happy, healthy, and whole. And I pray that we would have adequate money and then some. And if we need to find work, we find it. And if we need clients and customers, we get those. And I pray, and we understand the scriptures better. I pray I can make better videos, better teaching. And I pray for the peace of Jerusalem, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And my Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I loose off of all of us and from all of us any unclean spirits. Although believers don't have unclean spirits, maybe someone in your household does. So I loose those, and I also loose off of us any witchcraft or sorcery of any sort. It's off of us and out of us forever, shall never return. And that could be coming from unclean spirits or from people that serve unclean spirits. It doesn't matter. That witchcraft, sorcery is all loosed off and out of us forever. And I pray that, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And I'm out. And thanks. I hope you got something out of it. Oh, and Shabbat Shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. Tonight's Shabbat. All right, I'm out. Thanks, guys.